everybody? I'm Josh.
And I'm Jeffrey.
And we're Husbands of True Crime. And this is our first video, so please bear with us because this is going to be crazy. Today we're doing a case of Kara Williams, and she was born in Alabama. Throughout school, she spent most of her time in front of a crowd, whether that was doing softball or being a cheerleader. After graduating high school, she was the first person in her family to go to college. She married her high school sweetheart, but that didn't last long. He became controlling and abusive, and she divorced him 3 years later. After the divorce, she really thrived. She got a job working as a sales rep for a paper shredding company and started making six figures. And she was the #1 sales rep in her region in less than a year.
And to kind of celebrate some of her success, she decides to take a girls' trip to Vegas at the age of 26. And on this trip is where she will meet 26-year-old Emmanuel Williams in Las Vegas at a bar. Emmanuel will tell her that he's from California, he is a Marine, and he is also a professional gambler. After the trip ends, they still want to be able to see each other, so they travel back and forth from Alabama to California. On one of his trips to Alabama is where he would meet her mother, and her mother says he was a really, really great guy. And since she was being so successful in her job, they offered her a promotion and to relocate into Tampa, Florida. So she thought that this would be a great opportunity for her and Emmanuel to start a life together. So they moved. Unfortunately, with the relocation, the opportunity to make more money or in gambling is not, of course, as good in Florida as it is in Vegas. Kara even started falling behind at work because she had a lot of competition. A few months later, since she was not doing that great in this position, she was forced to resign from her job. Bills started, of course, piling up, so she has to take a part-time customer service position at a local bank. And of course, that meant a huge pay cut for her. And this is where Kara will later find that instead of being more of a professional gambler, Emmanuel actually has a gambling addiction. So this is not really a profession for him. It's more of a problem.
Definitely.
Soon after this, they realize that Kara is pregnant. So they make the decision to get married in a courthouse ceremony not long after. And they honestly didn't think that they barely had the funds to survive themselves, especially his gambling addiction and her part-time job. So they really didn't know if they could even afford to have a child.
They couldn't. And
so Kara really wanted to ask her parents for money, and Emmanuel was completely against her asking anybody for money. By the time she's 9 months pregnant, they're drowning in debt.
1 week before the baby was due, he had an idea to rob banks. He saw it on a true crime documentary and said it would be a great idea, and the guy in the true crime documentary didn't get caught, so I guess he thought he wouldn't either. 2 days later, they drove to a bank that wasn't too far from their house, and he instructed Kara to wait on him, go inside and get the money. He was wearing a disguise, and he walked in the bank and approached the teller and handed her a note that said, "Give me all your money and I have a gun." He slid her the note, and the teller couldn't find the envelope, so she just gave him cash, and they made out with $7,500. And Kara was very remorseful for what they did, but Emmanuel had a rush from it, and he really enjoyed it. And police captured Emmanuel on surveillance, but they never was able to get a clear picture of the getaway car. 10 days later, Kara gave birth to their child, and 3 weeks after that, they needed more money because they were starting to run out. They drove 12 miles to rob another bank, and this time they only made out with $2,000, and Emmanuel was pissed, to say the least. And so he made Kara drive to more banks to rob them. And over the next 8 months, they will rob 10 banks and come up with $38,000.
So this is when they decide that they are going to kind of get out of the area and they're going to drive to Alabama to rob yet another bank. And when they get there, Kara will realize that Emmanuel wants her to actually go in and rob this bank instead of him. She only gets $3,000. So Emmanuel says it's not enough, so they drive immediately to Gulf Shores, where they will rob yet another bank. The FBI has been trying to catch them, but they have pictures of him, but they can't get a license plate. But during this trip, they go through a toll bridge, and the toll catches the license plate information. So once they have that, they subpoena their records for their phones, and they realize that their phones are pinging in towers really close to all of these banks. That they're at the scene of the crime during all of the robberies. So that's kind of like the nail in their coffin. So once they get home from this last bank robbery in Alabama, as soon as they pull in the driveway, the police are there to arrest them. And so they get arrested there. They plead guilty. Emmanuel got sentenced for 5 years and 10 months, while Kara got sentenced for only 5 years. They are both, from what we can tell, they're out of jail completely now. Kara's mother says she's doing really well, but it's crazy to think that they robbed 15 banks over this course of time, but yet only got 5 years in jail. So that's nuts. But we think that may be because the note said that they had a gun when they robbed the bank, but they actually did not have a gun. It was just part of their scheme.
So they didn't get an armed robbery charge, which I thought that you would get an armed robbery charge even if you didn't have a gun, just because you said that you had a gun. But I guess they thought different. But yeah, this was our first video, so please bear with us. We'll continue to get better as time goes on.
Yeah, better lighting, better changes, scenery, background.
Yeah.
We'll do better. And this is Abby.
Here go Abigail.
She wanted to be in the video, obviously. She was over here asleep and decided to join us. So thank y'all for joining.
Thank everybody for watching. And remember to subscribe, like the video, and share with your friends. And we're Husbands of True Crime.
See you next time.